The Rohingya people of Myanmar are facing a dire situation. Their plight has captured global attention, yet the depth of their suffering is often misunderstood. They are one of the most persecuted minorities in the world, enduring unimaginable hardships and systemic oppression. For decades, they have endured systematic discrimination and violence in their home country. This has included restrictions on their movement, marriage, and access to education and healthcare. The Rohingya are a Muslim minority group who have long resided in Rakhine State, formerly known as Arakan, on the western coast of Myanmar. Their history in the region dates back centuries, yet they are often portrayed as outsiders. Despite their deep roots in the region, the Rohingya have been denied citizenship and basic human rights by the Myanmar government. This denial is rooted in the 1982 citizenship law, which effectively rendered the Rohingya stateless. This denial has rendered them stateless and vulnerable to exploitation. Without legal recognition, they are left without protection and are often subjected to forced labor and other abuses. The plight of the Rohingya reached a tipping point in 2017 when the Myanmar military launched a brutal crackdown on the community. This operation was marked by extreme violence and human rights violations. This operation, characterized by widespread killings, rape, and arson, forced over 700,000 Rohingya to flee across the border into Bangladesh. The mass exodus created one of the largest refugee crises in recent history. The United Nations has called this exodus a textbook example of ethnic cleansing. Reports have documented the systematic nature of the violence aimed at eradicating the Rohingya presence in Myanmar. The Rohingya crisis is a complex and multifaceted tragedy with far-reaching consequences. It involves not only immediate humanitarian needs, but also long-term issues of justice, accountability, and reconciliation. It represents a failure of the international community to protect a vulnerable population. Despite numerous reports and calls for action, the response has been largely inadequate. It also raises critical questions about state sovereignty, humanitarian intervention, and the responsibility to protect. The international community must grapple with these issues to prevent future atrocities. The plight of the Rohingya is a stark reminder of the human cost of intolerance, discrimination, and the abuse of power. It underscores the urgent need for global solidarity and action to uphold human rights and dignity for all. cultural legacy. The arrival of the British in the 19th century brought about significant changes to the political landscape of Burma, with lasting implications for the Rohingya people. Under British colonial rule, Burma, including Arakan, became part of British India. This period saw an influx of Bengali Muslim labourers into Arakan, encouraged by the British to work on rice plantations. The British, employing a divide-and-rule policy, often favoured certain ethnic or religious groups over others to maintain control. In the case of Arakan, the British recognised the distinct identity of the Rohingya and treated them separately from the Buddhist Rakhine population. This distinction was evident in administrative policies, census classifications, and even in the recruitment of soldiers during World War II, where some Rohingya were enlisted in the British Army. Section 4. Seeds of Discord, the Rise of Exclusionary Policies. The post-independence period in Burma witnessed a rise in Buddhist nationalism, fueled by a perception among some Burmese that the Rohingyas' presence threatened the country's Buddhist character. This sentiment, coupled with the legacy of colonial divide-and-rule policies, created a fertile ground for discrimination against the Rohingya. The 1948 Union Citizenship Act, enacted shortly after Burma gained independence, became a pivotal moment in the Rohingyas' struggle for recognition. The act, while granting citizenship to various ethnic groups, failed to explicitly recognize the Rohingya as one of the 135 officially recognized ethnic groups in Burma. This omission effectively rendered the Rohingya stateless, denying them access to basic rights and protections afforded to citizens. The 1948 Act became a legal instrument for the systematic marginalization of the Rohingya, laying the foundation for decades of discrimination and persecution. Despite international pressure, the Burmese government remained steadfast in its policies, continuing to oppress and marginalize the Rohingya community.